The day's emergency meeting was called due to demands from the Bruggen Empire. President Guerrero of the United Human Plants opened. Their demands are as follows. We, the Bruggen Empire, claim the entire sector D19 to 64A. All inhabitants are now part of our empire. That means war. Shu Tsang, king of the People's Empire of Mars, shouted. Against the 10th largest empire in the No Galaxy will have just been accepted into the galactic community. Are you crazy? First Chancellor Masaki Yamada of East Venus shouted back. We'd better surrender immediately, that way they will look at us favorably, President Jim Brown of the United Nations of Earth offered. Why are you getting a vote anyway? President Jagdish Nagarkar of the Republic of India interrupted. And we have to first win some engagements, so we can then negotiate favorable terms. We might even keep some independence. As the shouting continued between the nations and similar entities of the solar system, one of the doors to the huge room slightly opened and a thin, gangly man came in, quickly walking over to the seat of the independent Saturn moons. First arranging his papers correctly, he then pushed a small button next to his microphone, requesting permission to speak. After waiting another 15 minutes to let the discussions die down, the president of the UHP finally gave him the permission. All this talk about war and slavery is quite depressing, is it not? I offer a simple solution to this problem. The Bruggen want the sector. Let us just give them the sector. They never said we had to stay after all. We are offering our FTL tugs at a very fair price to move everything you care about to our new home. He leaned back into his seat as the shouting started up again and smiled to himself. Humanity was saved, and Saturn would finally get the riches it deserved. The historic location of Seoul is today called Bruggen's Death. But the Bruggen Empire fighting and losing a war against independent deep space miners who didn't want to follow big government is a story for another day. 850 years later, near one of the most technologically advanced stretches of space. The Cilician demand all our sons, the steward of the great human empire opened without prelude. Outrageous. Kaiser Julius the Great, first of his name, screamed into the throne room, they will burn for it. My Kaiser, his general cautioned, the Cilician Federation is the third largest military in the galaxy. The great empire may not survive a war. Impossible, Kaiser Julius the Great, first of his name, shouted into the throne room, my reign will last for eternity. My Kaiser, his steward offered, I may have a solution. Out with it, Kaiser Julius the Great, first of his name, demanded. Yes, my Kaiser. The Cilician, in their infinite stupidity, only demanded our sons. We may simply change out all our sons with new, better ones, and send the old, bad ones to them. I love it, Kaiser Julius the Great, first of his name, lauded her. You truly are my most capable servant yet. Thank you, my Kaiser, the steward answered, bowing. She allowed a small smile to cross her face. Another piece of trust earned, another step for the revolution. Switching out our sons. I truly am a genius, Kaiser Julius the Great, first and last of his name, laughed to himself. Cilician space becoming impossible to navigate due to rogue suns, letting the Great Federation collapse in on itself, is, however, a story for another day. After defeating two of the greatest empires in the galaxy, other nations got cautious around the young species. One star nation, however, saw an opportunity to cement their place as the strongest in the galaxy. All our citizens. Chancellor Rashid Smith of the United Human Territories asked, shocked. Yes, sir, his advisor confirmed. The Nundum demand all our citizens, or they will take them by force. Surely our allies, he trailed off. Against anyone else. Sure. But against them? It will not even hurt their reputation. Let us put it to vote then. Call for an emergency session of the parliament. 10 hours later, the parliament was nearly filled. The president stood up and walked to his pult. I have called this session due to demands by the Nundum slave empire. Their demands are as follows. He looked down at his script, all humans owned by the United Human Territories are to be transferred to the nearest Nundum slave processing center. All their belongings are to be transferred to the nearest Nundum recycling center. A low whispering filled the room as the parliament members discussed the announcement when a shout disturbed the room. From the visitor seats, a young law student who had been visiting with his class shouted, "You do not own any of us. Article 3 of the Constitution states freedom of the person shall be inviolable." 2 days later, a small shuttle arrived in Nundum space. When it landed in a huge orbital for the processing of new slaves, it was immediately opened by the local slave crew. However, inside all they found was the Constitution, translated into a myriad of alien languages, open to the first page, with the third article underlined in red. But the following revolution and, after decades of civil war, creation of an egalitarian republic is a story for another time.